All right, guys. Welcome to another iFSS Hangout. Today we've got the part 4 of the drum machines up to the present. We're going to cover a few MPCs today, and we're going to touch on the Dave Smith Tempest as well, which I'm rather excited about because I think it's a cool machine. So without further ado, let's kick into it. We're going to start off with the Akai MPC 1000. If you guys watched the previous Hangouts, you will have seen that we went through starting from the MPC 60 all the way through to the 4000. So if you want to catch any of the other classics like the 2000, 2000 XL, then catch the part 3 of that. And of course, if you like drum machines, then you might as well watch the whole lot. So here we go. Today, touching on the MPC 1000. So we left off at the 4000 last time. Now, the MPC 1000 came down in size. That was at the point where they changed it to the Music Production Center rather than MIDI Production Center. And the actual size of the physical box was much smaller, and it was really catered for people to sort of have it more portable and move it around. Now, this came out in 2004. We've actually got a demo of this being used, which is a great demo. So we'll come to that in a sec. But just to define this before we get to the video itself, the major difference between this and the 4000 was that you could connect this really to the Mac PC. A big addition to the actual hardware, and also the increase of the standard compact flash cards, which went up to 2 gigs, so you could actually use that. So that was one of the big things, as well as the physical size. And basically, that was it really, without the obvious layout kind of thing. But what I'm going to do is we'll go straight to the video, and we can probably talk a little bit more.
Sounds good.
If you can go ahead and play that video, that's great, and we'll join Sip Easy afterwards.
This is DJ Airwax. I'm here with
MacD.
yeah, and we just linked up through a friend of mine, and we're going to do a demonstration on the MPC 1000. It looks like it's a special edition. I don't know too much about this, but Mac knows a lot about it.
Yo, pretty much just like the 2000 condensed into a little compact thing that you can do everything on the 2000, but with the 2000 you can do with this, but it takes a little bit more time. You have to have a little bit more patience. You don't have the pop-up screen and shit. Just a little cheaper for people that don't have as much of a budget for the expensive equipment that still want to make banging beats.
That's what's up.
All right, let's do it.
It looks a little smaller too, right?
Yeah, it is a little smaller. The buttons even are a little bit smaller, so you have to have better accuracy, you know what I'm saying? All right.
We're just going to play one of Mac's beats. I like that sample. So there's the snare. Oh! Hold on. That's a dirty kick. Yeah. Yeah. Mac D. I like that roll. That's terrible.
That's what's up. Real simple, man. It's easy to do. Just gotta, honestly.
I love that groove, man.
Yeah, man.
That's why everybody talks about the 1000 like it was the ish.
Yeah.
Just gonna stop it right there because we got into talking about sampling and stuff.
Cool. All right. Okay, are you going to go further on to the video, or are you going to leave it there?
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it right there.
Right, okay. So, guys, if you want to catch the rest of that video, we'll post that up when we do the blog about this part 4. So there'll be a link directly to it there. But yeah, it's a real good, interesting video. So in terms of the MPC 1000, now, for me, this was the beginning of the Akai started to experience in terms of losing market share. And we'll come on to Native Instruments shortly, which sort of picked that up. But it was at around about this point, 2004, I think they dropped the ball a little bit. The MPC 1000 had problems in terms of its pad sensors, which really kick-started everything off. In terms of the sensors just weren't very good, and it was a manufacturing fault. They did reissue again at a later date the MPC 1000 BK, which had a hardware fix to it, implemented from the factory. But before that, on the standard MPC 1000, they actually brought out what they called a NIM upgrade to it. So if you guys are actually out there looking for an MPC 1000, then I would suggest just check it out when it came and that it has the upgrade already installed, because the sensors for the pads were notoriously naff and they kept breaking down, and obviously it's no good. What you wanted an MPC for was to create that swing, that feel, the whole groove, and the sensors on the pads are complete key to that, a fundamental basic thing that you need. But besides that, you know, the MPC was good and it served its purpose. You know, as I mentioned, the big compact flash, internal compact flash card addition to the actual model itself was an important upgrade from the standard 2000 XL at that the 2000 XL and the 4000 as well. Now we're going to move forward a little bit. We're going to put some links on that stuff so you can read all that stuff anyway. But we're going to move on to the 2500, the MPC, which that came out a couple of years later in 2006. Now the 2500 what was basically just a bit more of an upgrade, really. It had to do with sliders and various things like that. The layout was slightly different than the 1000. You had, instead of two sliders on top of one another, you had two fader sliders on the left hand side, and the knobs and things were changed and stuff. But we also saw, if I'm not wrong, I'm just going to check this quickly on here on the internet. I don't know if it was when JJOS came out or if that was at a later. Yeah, here we go. JJOS compatible. So that was a big thing with the 2500. Now, a lot of guys in the producer world like the JJOS system rather opposed to the standard MPC software that came along. And the 2500 made that compatible. We also have the 1000 as well, but by the time that the 1000 was compatible, the 2500 had just come out. So that was a big difference as well to it. It was all to do with the workflow from the JJOS operating system, which people preferred. The other big thing that was important on 2500 was the chop shop. Basically, the way of chopping samples was much easier now, and the fact that you could have a CD and DVD ROM driver added for burning and reading capabilities was quite important as well. Obviously, anything before 2500, you were dealing with flash cards. Now, at that point in time, to have a CD that you could burn straight away for beats and stuff was obviously a really useful thing at that point in time. So that was that. Backlit screen was another big feature, but I want to skip over these two really quite quickly because they were just, you know, sort of within a couple of years of updating one another. So within 4 years, Akai had brought out another model for after the MPC 1000. So between 2004, 2006, and 2008, every 2 years they were bringing out new models, and people were beginning to get a little bit fed up. And in 2008, we had the MPC 5000 that came out. Now, this got seriously slated, did this piece of hardware. Now, a lot of people found some serious bugs in this, which obviously I think that was at the point where Native Instruments kicked in. Now, the following year with Maschine. Now, Sip's going to do a demo of Maschine in a minute, but before we get to that, we're going to just talk a little bit about the MPC 5000. So, the SOS Sound on Sound magazine, if you guys are serious about production, you should really be reading this magazine. It's a staple diet, it's an industry standard, but it has loads of great gear, reviews and stuff, normally before it comes out, or just around about when, obviously, other manufacturers do all the press release. But I'm just going to go through an article that they did in 2008 that was published by SOS, talking about the 5000. And they actually quite like it in the sense that it was more powerful than the previous 2500 MPC, which was the flagship. And the big difference between this and the 2500 was price. I mean, this was really quite hefty, but it added the point of having a synth engine within the MPC itself. So it wasn't just a sampler. You now could do a lot more things with it. So it was, the 5000 was completely targeted at the producers within the studio and stuff. And to add to the fact that it had XLR outputs as well was a big thing to obviously make a workflow within the studio a lot quicker and easier and accessible to it. So integrated into your workflow a lot easier. Now, a couple of the cons that they didn't like about this SOS was that it had a very basic hard disk recording facilities. Now, which compared to what the MPC or what Akai was trying to do, they were always trying to push the boundaries all the time by bringing in the latest compact flash readers, adding CD usability, bringing out, additions to other samplers like the S5000 and things like that, where they would have external USB boards. So having all this connectivity to then all of a sudden sort of cut back and go to a sort of really basic hard disk wasn't exactly a good idea, and SOS picked up on this and slated them for it. But they also didn't like that it was, well, what the Maschine was supposed to do. It was quite underpowered in terms of mixing. So the facilities that you had on board with the Maschine weren't great. And the fact that you could have external mics plugged in, but it didn't support phantom power, meant you couldn't use any condenser mics and things like that with that. So you just resulted in having dynamic mics. Now, obviously, when you're in a big studio and a big setup, you want the best quality sound, and you use condenser mics as much as possible if you're recording, certain instruments and things. But you were obviously left then with just, one sonic sound, which was using dynamic mics. So that cut off quite a lot of creativity, you could say, in terms of mic setups. You just could use dynamic mics, which, I don't know what they were thinking at Akai, but perhaps they were thinking, well, rappers, yeah, SM58s, that's all they're going to use. They're not going to use condensers or ribbon mics or anything like that, although you wouldn't use phantom power with a ribbon mic. But, so yeah, we'll just leave it without phantom power, which I think was a big mistake. And the great big peeve that a lot of people moaned about these 5000s was, again, what SOS pointed out, was the way of the workflow where you had to slice or chop samples or chop the beat. In fact, quoting the magazine, they say, best slicing routine is annoyingly haphazard, which just sort of explains that all the workflow that they'd worked before to try and get the MPCs to the level of the cult status has basically been lost, really, with this new edition of the MPC 5000. And all the work that had been done had sort of you know, what was the point really? And I don't know if that was the point where they'd actually moved the manufacturing of the machines 100% over to China, and it was due to costs and the evolution of the digital audio workstations that they decided to minimalize design from the get-go. Really, wasn't as thorough as what it was in the earlier days. That's the impression I get. I don't know what the real factor of it was, but this is what we see. So that was the MPC 5000. Now, I did a bit of research on this earlier. A bit of research. I did a Google search, really. And what I came up with, I found this article that's quite interesting, which is it's actually over on Synthtopia. So if you guys know Synthtopia, it's quite a nice little site. You get loads of, you know, details and reviews and stuff about most gear up there. So it's always worth going to visit. But one guy had written this in 2008 about don't buy an Akai MPC 5000 until you read this, which is quite an interesting review. So we'll paste that link up on when we do the blog, so you guys can actually go read it if you can't be bothered to search it on Google. But yeah, it's quite entertaining. Basically, one of the sort of ending paragraphs of this is, please don't do this again, Akai. As a fan, avid user, supporter, and friend, don't let the decline in hardware sales or whatever is contributing to this allow this to continue. Basically, he's just saying it's a sack of crap. But having not used one, I can't really comment on that. But we'll provide the info, and you guys can go out there and, you know, make an informed decision. Anyway, obviously following this kind of backlash from the community at large with the producers, in came Native Instruments. Now this, for me, revolutionized the beat making process, where going from, it merged the link between software and hardware, which was the birth of Maschine. Now Maschine came out to explicitly work as a controller, hardware controller, to work with the DAW and emulate basically what an MPC did, but have it 100% using within the DAW. That meant that you could have greater functionality and greater workflow that was closer connected to your digital audio workstation. Now, when Native Instruments came out, they brought out an almost its own digital audio workstation, which emulated what was happening at that point in time, like Logic and things. So basically, you'd sequence using that, and you'd be able to add effects, and you'd be able to add layers and things like that. But the fact that you could use it on a computer screen took away the issues that the Akai MPCs had with the LCD and backlit displays that they had. Now you could see your whole computer screen, which was, you know, minimum, it was around about 15 to 20 inches, rather opposed to, you know, 3-4 inches that you could see on the MPC. So you could see everything, and you could have access, obviously, to be able to sequence things quicker. It was a faster workflow, and that's why it sort of changed the whole beat making thing. And obviously you had then unlimited space in terms of backing up your equipment, or backing up your beats and your ideas, because you had access to your computer hard drive then, which obviously the MPCs didn't at that point in time. The only way to do it was obviously go USB, but you had to basically switch off you back up your MPC, but you couldn't use your MPC at the same time it was connected via USB. This was with the MPCs. So it became kind of a funny workflow where Maschine, no, it was connected all the time, and you used it, and it was just backwards and forwards. So you could create samples on your computer and then just drag it into Maschine, and you could use that and sample it. And that's what revolutionized everything. So with that said, I'm going to bring in our main man, Sip Easy, who's going to give a demo on Native Instruments Maschine. Go ahead, Sip.
Just hold on a second, and I'll play the video.
Okay.
Just let me screen share.
Maschine product. Maschine can be used as standalone or VST inside your favorite dock, as I will show here. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Thank you. iFSS.
All right. All right. Okay. I don't know. So, do you want to talk about anything to do with the machine or anything? Because you know a lot about the machine, rather opposed to my limited time on it.
My take on it, like you said before, the Maschine is a hybrid hardware, software, digital audio workstation, and it's basically made, designed like a drum machine, similar to the MPC. It's a sampler and pretty much a drum machine in one. You can use it inside of a computer software or as standalone mode and single machine mode. Has 16 pads, and it's like I want to say a total of 41 buttons on the MK2. In the MK1, the studio has 66 buttons. They changed the setup a couple of different times. It's very user friendly, and you get better with it as you go along.
Right. Well, yeah,
That's
because
what
you've got a Mark II. I've got the original Machine, which I kindly pinched off DJ Airwax. Well, in fact, he sent me it really from Canada. But DJ Airwax has Machine Studio. I don't know if you want to say anything about Machine Studio today, Wax. Or...
I'm actually going to do a review on that a little, probably in like part 5.
Cool. All right, well, we'll leave
for
that
studio.
All right, okay. So, yeah, basically, Sips said what I was saying in terms of user and the ability to use it within the computer was quite groundbreaking at the point in time. It sort of moved or raised the bar a little bit in terms of standard between just a controller and a fully integrated controller. Now, from there, we go to sort of super modern stuff then. We start to get to the new generation of drum machines, and in comes the Dev Smith Instruments Tempest. Now, this came out in 2011. I mean, that's 5 years ago, but it doesn't feel like 5 years ago. It feels like it was just yesterday when this thing came out. Now, I really quite like the look of this. You know, guys, you know me, I'm about the analog thing, and I think analog is sexy because it just, I don't know. You've heard my rants before, so I'm not going to go into it now. But, yeah, basically, this machine, the Tempest, was a true drum machine in the sense that you couldn't sample with it, okay? So the sounds came already preloaded in it. Now, what defined this machine from all the others that have come previously, or certainly the 15 years before it, was the fact that it was really going back to the roots of what a drum machine is. Now, added with that analog sexiness that it has was this ultra super modern analog oscillators and digital oscillators, so incorporated a synth in itself. And what this machine allowed to do compared to normal traditional drum machines, which are just, you know, a few tweaks, say an 808, a Roland 808, where you'd be able to go in, you'd affect the envelopes a little bit, and you know that's the attack time and things, and cut a few frequencies and stuff. This machine, the Tempest, allowed you to do so much more. It was a full synthesizer, allowed you really to get into the heart of the actual sound, so really design it, okay? Now, this is what Dev Smith the reason why he worked together with Roger Lynn on the Tempest was because these guys came from the old school and they fundamentally understand the you know, the creator and, you know, of MIDI and Roger Lynn, of drum machines and various other iconic designs that they'd done. So they came together and designed the Tempest with a view of, there was a big resurgence in around about 2010, 2011 of people going back to the old school analog days where basically the war of loudness was all but over at that point in time. So if you guys remember back, it was all about who could get the music sounding the loudest, who could compress it the most, who could get that bass banging the most, and that kind of thing. So with all that coming over, producers and manufacturers in general were looking of a way of deciding, you know, where's it going to go now? You know, loudness wars are all but over, okay. Now it's all about sonic texture. It's all about those sonic abilities and those flavors, tastes, if you want. And they decided to put together this drum machine. Now, Dave Smith with his synths, what really defines him from the other synths is obviously the depth that you can go into it to actually sculpt to your sound. Now, the Tempest brought that in, and that was what really defined it from other just stock. You know, we'll have a sampled 808 bass drum here, or 909 here, or we'll have a Lindrum clap, or something else, or some white noise for hi-hats. What these guys did is they allowed you to get deep down with using the matrix, modulation matrix, which are used throughout all of Dave Smith's synths at this point in time. So that was really what defined it. Now, there are a bunch of videos up on YouTube by the sales guy, of Dave Smith at that point in time, called Carson Day. Now, you want to check out his videos because they're really quite cool, and obviously his job was to promote the hell out of the Tempest and show, what it could do. But we'll put some links up on the description about the Tempest when we do the blog with some of Carson Day's videos. But the synth, the drum machine itself is quite remarkable, and it really the bar. But where the machine was trying to incorporate and tie together the computer, digital audio workstation, and a controller, and together, Dave went completely the opposite way and said, you know what, I just want it completely standalone for these diehards, but I want it to be able to be incorporated into a professional working environment. Now, one of the downfalls, not downfalls, but one of the drawbacks of the Tempest is that it only has 6 individual outs. Now, the MPC championed 8 outs at any one time, all the way back from the mid-90s or late 90s it was, when the 2000s came out, either as an expansion board or as an or as an inclusive hardware addition to their MPCs. So when Dave Smith came out with only 6 outputs, it wasn't met in favourable light within the industry, because people were going, man, I've got used to all these hi-hats and these other cymbal sounds and, what they call specials, all these fancy sort of dipping in and out of, frequency cutoff pads and things. Now, we can't output those if we're trying to connect up to a physical mixing desk. Now, we've only got 6, so we've really to choose. But besides that, it was, it's an incredible machine, and I desperately want one. So if Mr. Dave Smith's out there and he fancies to give one, just give one over to iFSS and just say, it's Meeks. But basically the Tempest is a beast of a machine, and there's been no real competitor to that at all, with the exception now of the MPC Touch, which we're going to deal with probably on the next issue of this drum machine series. Basically, that's where it takes us today. I don't want to rabbit on too much about the Tempest and things like that, because I'm not really 100% qualified to go in and talk really deeply about it. But we'll put up some of Carson Day's videos up there, and you can find out loads of information on Dave Smith's website. The only thing that I will say, though, about this machine and who it was targeted at, it was certainly targeted at the top end. So it was a serious drum machine for serious drum machine enthusiasts. Okay, someone that was really into their drum machines, and it's not the easiest machine to work into. You've got to be 100% committed to this machine, because there is a learning curve to it. And also, it's not cheap. Anything Dave Smith is quality, and the fact that you've got various sort of up-to-date hardware additions to that, such as the sliding controllers, rather to oppose to having physical modulation wheels and that kind of thing, and the addition of having real analog oscillators with a crossover of the digital oscillator together with various filters. I don't know if it has a Curtis filter, which Dave Smith was renowned for using within his synths, which quite adds a specific sound to his synths. But with these additions to the actual hardware itself, obviously it has quite a high cost or high value to it. And basically that's it, really. That's all I can talk about it, and we'll put up some links for you guys to go see it. Even better would be if you guys can drop us some videos of you using these, MPCs or Tempests or stuff. We'd welcome that. We can always discuss it and talk, a lot more about it with you guys, in future hangouts. So we'd love that. We'd love some feedback from you guys. But that's it from me at this point in time. I don't know if Wax or Sip Easy want to add anything to it.
I don't really know anything about the Dave Smith instrument, but I do know it's a quality piece of machine.
Yeah.
I have a very detailed video, so we're going to get a very good idea what it is and
All right.
how it goes. Took some real-time searching because there wasn't that much on it, but there was some real good quality stuff on it.
Yeah, well, it's a new machine. It's a great machine. Anyway, enjoy the video, guys.
Okay.
All right, for me, all I got is subscribe, like the channel, share the video.
So hi guys, my name is Ivan and I'm gonna show you a little bit of Dave Smith Tempest. I'm gonna just jam around it and you will see how it sounds.
Man, that's such a sexy machine.
It looks so cool. Wow.
Nice. I know what it can do. The functionality that it has been, within it. It's so diverse. You can do so much with it. A serious machine. It's not a toy.